Next up, we have our Drone as First Responder program presented by Brooke Rollins, our Chief of Police. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good morning. The purpose of today's presentation is to walk you through our Drone First Responder program, talk you a little bit about what that is, an investment that you made for us last year during our budget cycle or in this current budget. And then we're going to take a short field trip. We're going to go up to the front of the City Hall. You're going to actually look at one of our DFR docks in demo format. You can actually see it. If you're really up to it, you might be able to fly one of them momentarily. Then we're going to come back down here. We're going to show you a demonstration of what the DFR program actually looks like in live format when we actually use it the way that we have it designed. So with that, let's get into it. So where have we been with our drone program? Since 2020, when we first brought this program online, we've moved quite a bit of distance between here and 2026. Starting with just 2 drones and 5 pilots, we've grown to a place where now we have 16 additional drones added to our fleet, 18 total pilots in the police department that are operating with multiple new certifications, airspace abilities to fly, and so forth. We received quite a bit of increased flight time. Just in general, looking from 2021 through now, we've had a 250% increase in the total number of flights that we're taking on the average right now from the police department side. And since 2025, 40% of those flights have occurred during that time frame. We've really leaned into how often we are flying these aircraft and for what missions. A lot of that has to do with the investment that you've made into our program itself, allowing us the ability to do so. And so we are currently on pace right now to fly over 1,000 missions this year alone with our drone program and the onboarding of our drone first responder program. So we're really excited about the development that this program has had. So what is drone first responder? Well, this is an ability to have immediate deployment using remote operation of our drone programs itself. So we can deploy drones much quicker now. The drone first responder allows us to move a little more autonomously using this advanced hardware system, and the packages that we've purchased allow us to make these advancements much more autonomously. I feel like I just repeated the exact same thing. You should get that point now. But this allows us to have real-time intelligence. That means we're downloading or we're live streaming video to our officers in progress while they are responding to calls for service. This provides excellent critical situational awareness, better officer safety, and even more efficiency for our team as they're responding to these calls for service. At the end of the day, enhanced safety is one of my biggest goals for this program, as well as our operational efficiency that the department is able to use as it responds and continues to grow DFR. So we have 3 main missions of the DFR program as we roll this out. The first one we've talked about is officer safety. We want more information getting to our frontline personnel faster. As they're responding to calls for service, the information that comes in on a call for service changes almost by the second. If an officer is responding to a violent situation where weapons might be involved, the team is keenly they are very focused on where the suspect is, where that weapon might be, what's the best way for the team to approach that call to limit our potential negative contact with that suspect. So this safety is key. This gives our officers a better approach path and a better ability to maintain time and distance, make better tactical decisions, and get more assistance when they can. The next one is an improvement of our citizens' experience. Being able to resolve issues faster is one of the best things we can do with this DFR program. We can actually launch drones, and we might be able to save having to send a police officer to that particular scene. As an example, hey, the lights are all flashing red at this particular intersection. We launch a drone, we get over to that scene, we find out it's already been dealt with through its own computer system and is now back on regular cycle. We don't have to queue that call. We don't have to send an officer. It is now cleared. We don't have to put anybody on scene, and we've dealt with what the citizen called in at the exact same time. So that can help decrease our call load, kind of clearing out unnecessary calls, just focusing on the priority ones that we want to look at. And importantly, it helps us reduce crime. We do that by reducing the response time that we have to calls for service. This will help us with increasing our case follow-up, getting live video of a scene much faster, increases our ability to maybe capture on evidence or on video what is transpiring and not have to rely on after-the-fact statements from witnesses. Those are always helpful, but video certainly goes a long way. And this will help, and we think, deterring our criminal activity across the city. So what are we using? This is what one of the docks look like, and I have to clarify, this entire presentation was actually created by my drone sergeant, Sergeant Tim O'Hare. He gets the full credit for all of this. We wanted to have an installation dock that we could actually show you, but those will not be installed until this coming week, so we're going to show you what they look like in theory, and we'll walk out and look at one in just a minute. This is the dock for the X10 platform. The X10 is the drone that's above it. These are all prepared with 220 power to each one of the sites where they're going to be installed, and continuous Ethernet, so they're also connected to the network systems of our city. And they can withstand the Texas climate. They can withstand heat, they can withstand storms, and they can withstand even the occasional cold snap that we might have. They are remotely, we can do remote connection to them to check their technical status, to make sure they're functional, to run them through test patterns. You don't have to send someone here to look at it. That's great because it allows us to maintain or to use them without having to go and maintain them on site. And that's a good thing for us because it'll help improve our efficiency. So this right here, this is the workhorse of our DFR program. It's obviously going to be much smaller. You're not looking at a real size one right here. This is the Skydio X10. This has up to 40 minutes of flight time when it's at full charge, and it can move at up to 45 miles per hour when it's in full speed. It's got thermal and zoom camera sensors that are going to be located on the front of the device itself, and it also has the ability for us to add attachments to it that might benefit that particular mission. Things such as a parachute. If it was to lose power, it might be able to deploy its own parachute to safely land without damaging itself. It can also have a spotlight or a speaker. These are important to us in law enforcement. It can help light up something that we can't see, and we can also communicate without having to stand in front of someone who might be in crisis. We see this a lot in drone programs across the country as these are advancing in law enforcement, that conversational ability with a PA system to talk to someone that's in crisis without having to put a police officer directly in front of them and reduce the potential for negative contact. And then it also has infrared night sensors on it as well, so we can see in the light, we can see in the dark, we can see thermal imaging, and later we're going to show you a live video of what that actually looks like whenever it's in actual operation. And there is the potential to move forward. The company is developing or testing personal flotation devices that could actually be deployed from one of these to someone who might be in distress in water. Those are in development. They're not currently here yet, but just ideas and places where we are moving with this that might help enhance public safety that takes us beyond just law enforcement, but into what the fire department might be interested as well. So what is DFR as far as line of sight? Drone programs operate two ways. They operate by physically watching the drone and flying it around and maintaining its safety and spatial awareness, and then they operate in what is called beyond visual line of sight. This is new, this is cutting edge, this has just come out in the last few years. I've been involved with drones since about 2010 when we first onboarded one in my former agency, and I've seen this grow over the years. The FAA considers every drone to be an aircraft inside the airspace and treated by the exact same rules like a real pilot would have to with a real aircraft. So for the longest time, we've been very much stuck on watching that aircraft and watching the surrounding airspace as we deploy. Well, we've been able to advance legislatively, we've been able to advance in the statutes, and now we have the ability to fly beyond visual line of sight. The reason we can do that with this system is because it now operates with what is called an ADS-B. That stands for Auto Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. This is known as a transponder. Every aircraft now has the ability to broadcast its own location, its altitude, its heading, its speed, all of those things that every other pilot operating in the airspace would want to know if there was an aircraft in its immediate area. So that advancement, as well as the surrounding infrastructure that we have installed or will install, will allow us to operate beyond visual line of sight. That means I can deploy these aircraft remotely over a computer, and somebody doesn't have to watch it fly. We're just banking on the evidence that it's providing to us. This is a huge advancement in technology. We can have these aircraft up in less than 20 seconds, and shortly you'll be able to see that for yourself. And because we have all of the AI technology, all of the advanced sensor technology on it, these things operate extremely safely. This is really, really important because flying drones used to be about don't hit that power line, don't hit that tree, don't hit that car. Careful what you do there, the blades might prop if you hit the wall. All of that has been solved with this advancement in technology. It now has its own onboard sense and avoid technology. Even if a pilot tries to fly it into the wall, it's going to detect that and not allow it. And that is the important thing in how we operate, because we're cops. Sometimes we break things, and we have to be very careful how we operate. We might fly it right into a wall. This thing will override that for us. It also comes equipped with what we call our DFR Command and Axon Air platforms. This feeds all of our technical information from the drone and the surrounding airspace to allow us to operate beyond visual line of sight without creating air conflict. We're also installing what is called a D-drone antenna system. This is going to be put on top of the Lewisville Grand Theater. It goes in next week. This is going to be what improves our airspace awareness and our radar capabilities. So we have onboard self-aware capability for the aircraft itself, and we're installing redundant radar systems that will give our entire city better two-way observation of the air. This is important in the BVLOS, the beyond visual line of sight world, because as you know, things like wing and zip line that operate commercially, they can fly beyond visual line of sight, but they can't go everywhere in the city beyond visual line of sight because they conflict with airspace regulations, because they're commercial. Because we are a government entity and we are operating from the stance of public safety, we're allowed to operate all across the city as long as it's for a public safety mission. This technology allows us to do so. So flying on the opposite side of I-35 in DFW's approach and departure pathways where the airspace is restricted from the ground up to 10,000 feet, we're able to operate there beyond a visual line of sight. This is huge, the directions that we're able to go with this. So with all of this technology and aircraft that are on board, we now operate what are called 3 waivers or FAA authorizations to pilot our aircraft. The first one is called a visual line of sight waiver or certificate of authorization. This is the one where we operate our aircraft by watching them fly. Our DFR platforms are not the only drones we have. We still have officer-launched drone packages that we operate throughout the city, so this isn't the only thing we operate. And that's important because a drone mission is different for whatever you're going to use it for. Whether you're doing a wide area search, an open air search, you're tracking something, or you're inside a residence, every search possibility is different. The aircraft, the platform, and the flight purpose have to match. So we have authorizations for that. We also have 200 and 400 feet beyond visual line of sight waivers, meaning on one of these we could fly up to 200 feet no higher, the other one up to 400 feet no higher. Well, what's the difference? The difference has to do with which detection system we're using for the aircraft. If we're relying solely on the aircraft's ability to detect conflict in the air, we can't fly any higher than 200 feet. But if we're going to use our entire drone antenna system with radar capability and our ADS-B onboard equipment, we can fly up to 400 feet. If you've flown in a drone capacity before, up to 400 feet is really, really high in a municipal setting. That's a big way up there. You might use that for high-level observation, but for day-to-day tactical police and fire operations, we're usually going to be right about here in a municipal environment. So in most cases, we're going to be able to fly with no issue, but we have that redundant radar system that will allow us to go higher if we need to. Right now, we're going to be installing 3 docks. This is what your investment into our program was this budget cycle. The first one will be installed at the Tittle McFadden Public Safety Center, right on the top of our parking garage. It's already ready to go in. It's powered and wired and almost ready. The second one we're going to put at the fire department station number 7, and the last one we're going to put at the fire department station number 5. First of all, we're grateful to our fire team for allowing us to put the equipment there. This program benefits them as well. Fire department sending multiple apparatus to a structure fire where there's been no report of actual fire, they're still going to dispatch every unit they have and the potential. Launching a drone ahead of time might be able to disregard several of those apparatus to discover, actually, that was just a barbecue that was going on. It's not a fire, right? They may still need to send an engine there to clear it, but we don't have to send all 7 engines there to clear it, or however many engines go, Mark. I'm sure there's quite a few, right? So this coverage map that we've come up with right here allows us to hit about 95% of the city's geographical area. That means we can fly a drone to about 95% of the city. But that's an important distinction because we could actually fly to 100% of the city. We wouldn't be able to fly as long to 100% of the city. It would reduce our battery time and operation usage. And I'm going to talk about what this looks like if it was to scale up in the future. But for now, for general purposes, we installed these 3 docks to cover I-35 completely from end to end of the city, because that's where we think we're going to have most of our calls for service in the area that surrounds that particular corridor with traffic issues and so forth. All right, I think we have a video. Let's see if it works. Do I just click again? Okay. Melissa briefed me several times. Oh boy. Hey Melissa, can you do it?
Skydio dock for X10. Station docked X10s where critical work happens. Get airborne in 20 seconds. Operate remotely from anywhere in the world and get the data you need to act. For public safety agencies, Skydio DFR Command is the ultimate software suite for drone operations. Respond to incidents with a single click, share live video with ReadyLink, and use augmented reality overlays for precise visual orientation. Manage your fleet, upload evidence, and build community trust. It's all at your command.
Awesome. So, sorry, I'll stop pushing the button. I am so going to pay for this later with Melissa. All right, so most of this presentation has been AI. These are actual real images that come from the Skydio platform. The ability for this system, the technology, and the platform itself, flying, I mean, these are very complex obstacle avoidance technologies that even a human pilot might struggle with. This system does it on its own. Flying autonomously at night, important. Being able to see whatever barricades or boundaries might be restricting a normal aircraft under human operation, this has the autonomy to do it by itself. Urban canyons is important. We're in a very dense area right now. Buildings, structures, vehicles, overhangs, overpasses. These are all things that aircraft have to mitigate. Tracking subjects in the dark, also important, and we have the ability with the sensors. Flying underground or undercover, also really important, giving us all vantage points that we could actually need to see as we go. And so with that, we have the ability to integrate the drone first responder program into our computer-aided dispatch system. So as calls for service pop up, and these are just examples of calls for service that may actually be with the police department at that time, the program itself has the capacity to be able to be automatically programmed to identify calls for service that it might want to deploy on. So as we look to grow the program in the future, we might be able to have drones automatically launch on particular types of calls and have drones downrange before an officer has even started in that direction to provide live streaming video. Or we will be able to integrate our CAD dispatch system. One of the other investments that we made this year is in a technology known as Fusus, which is it's a intelligence-based program that comes into one pane of glass, multiple data sources into one pane of glass, like our AVL system, but adding some additional points of data. Our GFR program will feed into Fusus. The CAD data will overlay in Fusus. Our pilots will be able to go in there and click remote launch without having to watch the aircraft and send the aircraft where it needs to go. But in the future, as we grow the program, we can do that autonomously and even pre-program where we would want it to go. So those are some advancements it can do in the future. For example, some of the technology our department has, our officers have sensors on their holsters. When they deploy a firearm in any circumstance, it automatically will trigger the body-worn camera to start recording. We can actually set it up where it auto-launches a drone whenever that happens. So if we have an officer hit an emergency button or pull their firearm, it'll send a drone over there automatically. So there are things that we can do that we can program into it that it has the capability for. We're still on step one of moving in that direction. Those are just some of the technologies that we can grow to. So what are we doing with this right now? I'm a big believer in data. Our city manager has been pushing hard on our Project Smarter, and this is all in that direction. Data-driven deployment strategy. It would be neat to just throw these things out and start launching them with everything, but I actually want to know what the return on investment is going to be for this program. So, phase one, collect data. When these three docs go in, we need to make sure that we understand what we're flying them for, what we got when we got there, and what was the return on that investment. So we have mandatory post-flight recording that's going to occur, but that's coupled to the automated telemetry. Telemetry, I had to look it up, is the connection between the ground and the aircraft. All the data that the aircraft provides, I don't need somebody to human log. That reporting, along with our mandatory post-flight reporting, will give us our response times. We want to know, what did we save in response time? Did we actually disregard a police officer from arriving? Did we increase the speed at which we managed a scene based on the arrival of one of these drones? Because that'll help us determine on our return on investment if we had any good usage from the program. Then we can start looking at heat mapping and saturation metrics. Are we ever at a point where we can't fly a drone because too many were in use? Are we ever to a point where we've got way too many drones overlapped on top of each other? Maybe we need to change the way that field looks. If we were to scale up, we would want to know where the next scale might actually be, why we want the data to drive that operation. And so that helps us decide coverage expansion, increasing our capacity, and the safety correlation that will follow. This is important because what you saw on that map about we have about a 95% coverage of our drones now, that's really neat because we can fly for about 40 minutes in this 95% area. But I think the idea would be if this was to be a program that grew forward, if the data shows that's where we need to go, we need to be able to fly continuously in those particular areas. So that might be something we would come back for in a budget if the budget allowed for it. But in the meantime, we want to understand what we're getting out of this particular first install and how that might be beneficial if we decided to grow it. We want to make sure the program works before we actually step in the direction of that. So what is the future of DFR? Well, theoretically, we could move to a point where we have 24/7 full city coverage, right? So drones are available to fly 24 hours a day, autonomously, maybe even automatically, in full city coverage. This decreases our time to launch, increases our efficiency of video coverage, and we can then pair it with our DFR command center and officer ability to review and see all of this information without having to increase manpower, and that's important. Officers are worth a lot, right? And we want them going to the important things and not going to the unimportant things, and trying to draw the right line as police leadership in how do we do that in such a way where we don't diminish what the community wants from their police department, but we are still able to respond quickly and efficiently to the things we need to. It's a difficult line to draw sometime. I think this helps us step in that direction, all right? So that actually was a little bit of a screaming pass through my PowerPoint. So we are going to take a field trip outside, but before we go outside, do you have any questions to this point before I take us outside?
I do. So I don't think you addressed this earlier, but maybe I missed it. What is the life of a drone as far as the life expectancy of how long it would last? Where obviously would have to replace them.
Sure. Yeah, so the life expectancy of a drone, this is going to be a terrible answer for you, varies depending on use. So this particular program that we have has built into it the ability to maintain the life of the drones as they go. All right, so battery change out and replacements, things that are designed to wear and tear on your car, also wear and tear on these drones. Prop blades and those camera systems might need to be changed out. Drones can go on for years if they're properly maintained, but we do have to have an ability to replace them over time. The good news is replacing a drone is nothing near to replacing the entire dock and drone system. The drones are much more inexpensive in a general sense than they used to be. So the drones, as the technology has advanced, has gotten a little bit cheaper and a little bit easier to maintain without having to replace them.
That was my next question of, I never get brand new technology because I'm always like, I'm just going to wait a little while and let it, work the kinks out. Has it kind of stabilized as far as, we're not going to go buy drones that are then obsolete 2 years later?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? Technology improves all the time. I am opposite of you. I will buy the newest piece of technology because that's what we should be doing, right? That's to me, right? But so to answer your question, is it going to need to be replaced? Yes. It is reasonable to expect that technology will advance and will need to be replaced. That is reasonable to expect. I think the good news about this program here and how wide drone usage has become, think about it like cell phones. If we think back to 1999 when cell phones were just coming online, everybody's, man, the number of minutes and the number of calls is what limits me here. Flashing forward to today where cell phones run your life. I don't even think that we operate without them because the technology has gotten twice as good and half as expensive every couple of years. The same applies to this technology here. Are we going to have to replace it? Yes. Are we going to have to replace it as often? Probably not. And with such a big infrastructure investment that we've made, the replacement is much easier in this particular case.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I'm going to phrase this question because it's an if question, not a should we question. Or it's a can we question, not a should we question. So last year we sat in this room and we were talking about trying to find out what streetlights are out. And I'd actually talked about, could we use drones for something like this? We've talked about some very amazing things this can do. Can these things also be used for some, how much latitude do we have in these waivers? Could we say, streetlights are a public safety issue. We could use drones to train pilots. We could use streetlights to train pilots and go out and survey for streetlights that are out, things like that. So
yeah,
what
that
kind of
is
latitude do we
possible.
have?
There is a lot of ability to grow the use of these drones. We've talked about that. One particular request that we actually started to make in the budget this year has to do with our radio towers here in the city of Lewisville that operate our public safety radio system, our police radios and fire radios. Every year every day we're required by the FAA to inspect that radio tower to make sure the red blinking light is still blinking. So we can do that one of two ways. We can send somebody there. Yeah, it's blinking. We can point a camera at it somewhere, or we could auto-launch a drone to it every day to inspect it and have a video recording of it flying, and we've chosen to take that route instead of bringing a cost to the city for a company that would do the inspection for us. It's not kind of an answer to what you asked, but streetlight inspections and others, yes, it's all possible.
That's exactly what I want to know. So the flashy stuff is great. I'm all about public safety and the safety of our officers out there. I've seen some impressive videos where we send a drone in and see a guy in a closet with a gun.
Right.
That's a very impressive video. But then there's the day-to-day quality of life things. Does an officer really want to be dispatched out to go look at a blinking red light? Something like that. So that's great to know.
And if I may couch that just a little bit further, just keep in mind, if we chose to grow that direction, these are think of them as fire and police vehicles. We don't currently send fire and police vehicles to check streetlights. Doing so reduces the number of available drones to do, but it doesn't mean we can't grow the program deliberately in that direction.
Thank you.
Testing, yeah. I was just going to add, I think that was we didn't have, council was interested more in understanding granularly what we were going to use it with, but having a more civilian side drone program was one of the things we were trying to dip our toes into last year. I don't know if Chris is planning to bring it back this upcoming year, once we get a little bit more solid ground on what we're going to use it for. But I agree with Brooke. I think the other thing that's important, and I know this is I don't think it's been rolled out yet, but talking about transparency and use of these drones, I think from a public trust perspective, there's a need to put out on our page and our transparency page about when we use drones, and these drones in particular, if you want to talk about that.
Sure. There's an annual requirement of reporting already that the state of Texas requires us to do. That report is always available. But to her point, yes, we can increase or improve our transparency of day-to-day drone usage. You saw our flock safety transparency page. Same idea. We can do similar ideas like that. Okay, great. So what we're going to do for everybody else's benefit in the room, we're going to walk out to the front of City Hall where we have a drone first responder station set up. This is primarily for our council members. If you're here visiting, if you'll just let them be able to see it up front, that'd be great, and then you're all welcome to fill in around them. We also have our DFR Sergeant, Tim O'Hare, is here with us today, and one of the representatives from Skydio, Izzy, is here if we have technical-based questions for the product, so I will meet you outside.
But yeah, what's cool is it's environmentally protected too, so it could be like 20 degrees on here now, and it warms.
Izzy with Skydio, he has a QR code that you can actually scan with your phone, and you can see the video yourself. This is something our officers have the ability to do as well. If you want that. Get out the way, Liz. Well, hello, see the video now?
You see yourself? Yes.
So something that's important that I want to point out is what we call low latency. So you're not looking at a video from 5 seconds ago. You're looking at it pretty close to the time that it happened. That matters to cops responding to emergencies, right? Where's the guy with the gun? Where is he currently standing? That's important, right?
It is, like maybe 1 second behind.
Right.
So the program that we use to control this is called DFR Command. In there, it's going to have all of our aircraft, all of our docks, all set up for us so that we can basically respond to any incident. The screen is kind of hard to see, but I created a test incident over at the Lewisville Grand, So if I were to click on that incident and say respond here, it's going to choose the aircraft that is the closest to it. Obviously, it's going to be this one. And then it's going to prompt me to click launch. So you click launch, it's going to spin up the props. It'll take off, go straight up. It'll rotate 360 degrees, so it orients itself with GPS, make sure everything is good. And then it will automatically fly to that location that I've sent it to for the incident. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, as you're watching it on screen, you can zoom in, you can change it from regular to thermal camera, and it does not affect what the pilot sees.
Closing.
We're just changing it for us.
Yes, you're changing it for y'all. So what's nice is that instead of only having one set of eyes that can look at this video stream and see what's going on, let's say I'm searching the woods for a missing person. I now can have 10, 15, 20 sets of eyes looking at the same video that I'm looking at that might catch something that I didn't see.
In all different ways. Some thermal, some zoomed in, some zoomed out.
Exactly. So now we've arrived on scene. We've got a few different ways that we're able to fly the vehicle. We can fly it using the keyboard and mouse, or we can fly it using handy dandy Xbox controller or PlayStation controller. Our younger audience tends to enjoy this one. But either way, what it allows you to do is very easily control the aircraft, and I will use it to come around and come over and take a look at us. Now, the only thing I will say is that when we have these installed on the rooftops, they're going to be directly connected to the network using an Ethernet cable. So there's less issues with internet or any of that.
I'm watching the thermal. That's more fun. You can see people in the buildings. Not kidding.
It looks like sort of. It's like you're playing block right.
Yeah, see there.
Want that kind of
See it?
Yeah, there you go. Good thermal. There's your thermal. Very good thermal.
How high is it? This tree
Right now, it's at 200 feet.
That's over here.
Oh, I see it now.
Okay, I was gonna say he had it. Remember how it was like 400?
What is that? Yeah, it's 200 feet.
Like I said, the big thing is that when we have it connected and they're actually installed, they're hardlined directly into our network. So we get really fast upload, really fast download directly through a wired connection. Currently, if you see how it's got the flashing blue on the dock, the cell connection apparently has a small little dead zone, so it's just waiting for it to connect the cell phone one more time so that I can open the dock and communicate with it to let it land. But the good part is the aircraft is completely autonomous. So it will continue to stream, continue to fly, everything is completely fine. So it'll give you about 40, 45 minutes of flight time. Of course, that matters if you're flying to a farther location, like let's say you've got something that's 3 miles away from the dock. The time it takes to fly there is going to cut down on how much time you can stay on scene, because it's going to automatically calculate with the battery how long it needs to return to home.
I was about to ask you that question. So it'll automatically come back.
Yeah, so you have two choices. If you override it, like let's say I've got a scene that I need to keep that drone on scene. We have spare batteries that are
Well, drones you just fall behind.
so I can literally just tell it to land right where it is. They can swap the battery out with another battery, and then we can continue flying on scene. Or it'll automatically calculate. You're at the point now, taking into account the wind speed and everything else, that you need to return to home now. If you don't return to home now, then it'll run out of battery.
It's just a connection issue.
Yeah, just the 5G connections.
If it doesn't work, it's okay. You get the general idea. When it's hardwired, it would land right where it's supposed to. It's a little different being on the front porch and not permanently installed. So.
Ask it nicely. Set a track record to
You
let it know.
already said what this thing looks like, right? You know what this looks like.
Why do you think I'm saying?
Right now.
Maybe now.
I don't know why Verizon only has 4G right here.
automatically close the lid. When the lid's closed, it's completely weatherproof as far as heavy downpour rain. How is it with hail? It should be pretty good. It does have a metal shell on it, so it should be fine with hail. Of course, everything has its limitation, but as far as when it's connected to 220 power, which when it's hardwired, it has a heater in there as well, so when it's cold, it'll keep the battery and everything at operating temperature, so there's no delay. We don't have to wait for it to warm up. The ones, yes, it's got 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. It's got the main camera here that has thermal, a narrow field and a wide angle, so you can get multiple views. When we deploy them, it'll have a sensor here. It'll have another sensor in the bottom that projects infrared light. So in pitch blackness, the drone is seeing it like it's completely lit up as daylight. It also has when we deploy it for DFR missions, it'll have a parachute attached to the side. So if for some reason it enters into a flight pattern or a pitch that it's not able to recover from, which is extremely rare, it will automatically deploy a parachute, and it's the only one that doesn't deploy with a spring. It actually deploys with a compressed nitrogen cartridge.
Oh, nice.
So it's a lot quicker to deploy, and I believe anything over 80 to 100 feet, it'll land without damage. So it also will not only do that, but it'll land without hurting anyone, which is the big part of flying. And then we also have a speaker and spotlight.
So what we did is our plan today was to actually launch this drone and fly it to a pre-programmed scenario that you could see in real time. But what we decided was we wanted to add a little bit more flair to that. I wanted you to hear the radio traffic, see the officer's body-worn cameras, and the video from the drone as well, and kind of lay all that on top of itself. So you're going to watch a pre-recorded scenario. This is a fictitious scenario for anybody that's watching. This is not real. It's all completely made up. But this will give you an idea of what happens from call inception all the way to officers making the scene with a particular suspect. So we have some overlaid audio and video. Call comes into 911, information received by our dispatchers sent to officers in the field, and a drone simultaneously launching to provide coverage. Melissa, am I good? All right.
The following scenario is fictional. However, it is an accurate depiction of the calls for service our men and women of law enforcement face every day.
Alpha 14, Alpha 15, copy an assault in progress.
Alpha 14.
Alpha 15. Alpha 14 and Alpha 15 going to an assault in progress, 700 East Valley Ridge Boulevard. We had a call from a distraught female reporting her boyfriend assaulted her. We have medics en route to her. She advised that the suspect fled the scene in a blue Toyota pickup truck wearing all black, possibly armed with a gun. We have a possible location where he may be headed. She did state that he has made homicidal and suicidal threats toward police.
Alpha 14, copy. You're out.
Alpha 15, copy and route.
When the 911 call is received, a DFR pilot is automatically assigned by dispatch. With a push of a button, a drone is launched from the closest dock and autonomously flies the quickest and safest route to the call location. Upon arrival at the location, the DFR pilot will assume control of the aircraft and begin checking the area for the suspect vehicle.
I'll be 1060 at the possible suspect location.
Dispatch copy.
The pilot is able to use thermal imaging to quickly determine if any of the vehicles in the area have been driven recently, based off the heat signature they provide.
DFR 1 to dispatch.
Go ahead.
I've located the vehicle. going to be behind the industrial building located at 1201 Fire Tower Way.
Morning, Chief. Located 1201 Fire Tower Way.
Alpha 14 at 15 copy.
Using the aircraft's see and avoid capabilities, the pilot is able to maneuver the aircraft close to trees and obstacles to achieve a better view of the suspect.
DFR 1 to Alpha 14, Alpha 15. Suspect's going to be located in the driver's seat. He is armed with a handgun in his right hand. He's got a cell phone in his left hand, and he's yelling at somebody. Alpha 14 copy.
15 copy.
With the aircraft in place, the pilot can continue to provide situational updates to responding officers in real time as they arrive on scene.
All right, DFR 1 to both units arriving on scene. Suspect still has the gun in his hand. He knows you're there. He's still talking to somebody on the phone. Alpha 14 copy.
Alpha 15 copy.
Alpha 14, both units arriving on scene.
Dispatch copy.
Officers arriving on scene have a limited view of the suspect due to the location and angle of his vehicle. They are able to detect movement, but are unable to see the suspect's actions.
DFR 1, do you have a good visual on him? We can't see him from our location.
DFR 1 to all units. I have good visual on the suspect. He is still arguing on the phone, still has the handgun in his possession. He's ignoring your commands.
Officers attempt to make contact with the suspect using loud verbal commands. However, the suspect ignores them.
DFR 1 to all units. Subject is exiting the vehicle, still has the gun in his right hand, phone in his left.
Hands up! Hands up! I don't want to hurt you, but you're
DFR 1 to all units. Subject has put the gun down. He is no longer holding the gun, still has his cell phone in his hand. He is not holding the gun. Alpha 14, both units copy. Weapon is out of the suspect's hand.
She doesn't love me anymore. She doesn't love me. You're gonna have to
DFR
kill
1
me.
to all units. The suspect is holding the phone in his right hand. He appears to be psyching himself up for something.
Kill me! Kill me! Put me out of my misery! Kill me! Just do it! Just do it! Kill me! Kill me! Put me out of my misery! Kill me! Just do it! Just do it! Kill me! Kill me! Put me out of my misery! Kill me! Get on the ground!
The suspect tries to cause a lethal force encounter with police. However, due to the real-time information provided by the drone, officers are able to make the split-second decision not to engage. Officers continue to negotiate with the suspect. After some time, he eventually complies with verbal commands and is taken into custody without injury.
DFR 1 to both units. No weapons observed in the suspect's waistband. Alpha 14 copy. No weapons in his waistband. DFR 1 to dispatch.
Go ahead.
We have one subject detained. Going to be moving up to clear the vehicle with drone.
Receive 1 detained, moving up to clear vehicle with drone.
using smaller drones specially outfitted for interior operations. The DFR pilot can then clear the inside of the vehicle without having to expose officers to a potential unknown threat.
DFR 1 to all units. Interior of the vehicle appears to be clear. You all are free to move up and clear the vehicle.
Alpha 15, all units moving up.
With the knowledge that the vehicle appears to be free of threats, the contact team can move up and fully clear the vehicle with a reduced risk of unknown threats.
Alpha 15, the vehicle's clear. One subject detained. You can open the channel.
Morning, save. All units, Patrol 2 is back open. Patrol 2 is back open.
In high-stress situations, the ability to receive critical information in real time is crucial. Drone technology acts as a force multiplier for our officers, providing them with critical information when lives are at stake.
Awesome. And with that, that brings me to the end of my presentation, subject to any questions you have.
Council?
I have just a couple of things to say. This program we've been building on since 2020. I was a reserve for the Lewisville Fire Department for over a decade. And I happened to be riding out with the PD, it was BR, before Rollins, when we got, it's BR, when there was a call because a car was found on the service road of 35 by, if you grew up here, you know where the bottoms are between Carrollton and Lewisville on the east side. And we couldn't find the individual. And it had been a missing person that had been called in. So we knew it was probably somewhere close. And having fished and duck hunted that area, I knew there was a way in. You got the drone out, unlike this type of drone right here. But it was fascinating to be able to get a hold of that gentleman, and it saved his life. He was, another hour, he'd be gone. This council, it didn't need to be a campaign year to get up and support any program like this. We've been doing it day in and day out. And I applaud you for bringing us beyond the 21st century in technology. And this is a program that goes beyond just supporting our first responders. It is to ensure that our citizenry is safe on many, many, many levels. And I applaud you and Chief McNeil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say something similar, that just, you know, with this scenario and that we're looking at here, the drone saved a life that day, because, I mean, it certainly looked like that cell phone was a gun from the officer's perspective. And so, you know, in just one incident, the tremendous value that's there, that is really immeasurable. I think this is a game changer. I don't know how many other cities are doing this. I don't know if you can answer that question, but this is just out of curiosity. I want to brag about it.
I know.
But I think this is amazing.
Thanks. I agree. I also think this is amazing. There are other municipalities in the area that are moving into this technology. I will say that we've made one of the more deliberate shifts into this technology. I think we have some of the most advanced and forward-leaning equipment now, and we have more than just one. So that's important. And you talked about this one incident being such a crystallizing moment of what it saved, and that's important. And what I want the council to understand, and you know this, is your law enforcement officers, your firefighters make these decisions daily regardless, right? And they do a phenomenal job at at finding the right way to respond. This is a tool of de-escalation. That term gets used a lot, like it's some sort of thing on my belt that I can just, well, why not just use de-escalation like it's a open and spray and now there's de-escalation. It's a part of a tool of multiple devices and ways to increase time, increase distance, and slow things down. And that's what this helps us do. So you're right. In that moment, it was very productive, and it can be productive in so many other moments too. So thank you.
All right. Claire, the only other thing I want to add to this is I want it solid. I want to make sure that it's working for life safety first. But as the other departments start looking at ways to innovate, of course, we look at how we add that on to their toolkit to be able to be much more efficient. I think there's definitely tools there. We were talking outside as as we're doing code enforcement, as we're looking at infrastructure. I don't have to necessarily roll a truck and put a person out there, and at some point that video feed could be analyzed, and then a person doesn't even have to look at it until the AI looks at it and says, oh, this looks like an issue. So I'm excited about what the next 5 years, there's a lot of technologies that are coming to a head in this program that I think the life safety is absolutely where we need to be spending it. I don't want to dilute the impact because we still need to get good data, but I do want the rest of our departments to be thinking about creative ways that they may be able to be more efficient with this technology moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Chief?
We've thought about that, and right now in our first iteration, we're trying to identify the types of days where we have the least amount of calls or fewest number of calls for service. So if that's Monday morning between 12 and 3 a.m., to do those types of things where we can go out and check the street lights, follow up on that dilapidated fence or what have you, and then bring the drones back to home so they're ready for public safety use. We're trying to find a way to get best of both worlds, life safety being first. So we agree with you.
Thank you.